Shout out everyone on MYM. Obviously, it's going to take a while for them to start connecting, but shout them out anyway.
Shout out.
Shout out Mr. Banny Mendy, DOP extraordinaire in the building.
Oi, oi, Banny! Shout out you, my bro.
Bless.
Okay.
One word unmute.
Oh, right. And
We good to go out? We live?
yes, we are live on. I just need to press one more button for YouTube. Sorry.
Cool.
So I was basically shouting out no one on MYM, but it's all right.
No, you're shouting out 11 people. People with the link are already in, but then I just need to make it public. So there's 11 already watching on
MYM.
Yeah.
Shout out the MYM squad. Come on, the real ones.
What?
Early bird.
And yeah, cool.
Shout out Daps.
And refresh.
Daps.
Okay, yeah, and we should be able to, yeah, good to go. This is all good. All right, cool peoples. So yeah, I think first and foremost, I want to say thank you all for joining in. Thank you for all the panelist members for agreeing to speak and to share, to share your experiences with everyone today. And thank you to all the attendees for being here with us. So I think I want to start by basically just giving an overview of some of the achievements that I think that the Black Lives Matter movement has done so far this time around. Unfortunately, had to be, another time, but since the death of George Floyd, I think the movement has really galvanized so many people and has gained the attention of, so many people from so many different countries. And, people have come out into the streets to protest, peacefully for change. And I think now as things are moving on, and I was saying earlier to some of the panelist members that I personally believe that this time, there's something that feels different, because I can start to see, certain structural changes that are happening, certain laws, for instance, in America that that they want to get passed. And over here, even though it can be a little symbolic, statues coming down, I think just little stuff like that, shows that we are moving. And for me, this time it feels different. So we here at, Fully Focused on MYM, we've always been about, giving youth a voice and, giving the people a voice. Most people know MYM now as Million Youth Media, but when we first set it up, we actually had the idea of Million Youth Movement, to have 1 million young people in one place and to set up a movement that, that mainstream media wouldn't be able to deny, and they wouldn't be able to shut down and not listen to. So, it's glad that we're on the route to that, and yeah, we're getting there. So when at the height of this, we had a meeting with all of our young members and wanted to know what we could do as an organization. And I think, the majority of people agreed that the first thing that we should do really is to try to speak to other young people in the field that are doing positive things and that are trying to create change, and to gather ideas and to share experiences of what people want to, the changes that people want to see made, and ideas of how we can make those changes. So I think this is what we intended this session to be, sort of holding spaces where we can share our experiences and ideas. So I hope today we can do that, and we can start to get onto some solutions and yeah, be the start of something great going forward. So I want to hand over now to Natalie, who's been a long-standing board member, and also Nikki Bedu, who's co-founder and also head of production here at the FF team. And yeah, they'll do some housekeeping and some intros, and we will yeah, we will get into things. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Alex. So yeah, hi guys, nice to see everybody. Nice to know that there's lots of people on the Zoom and watching via YouTube. I just want to say that we want to hear from as many people as we can today. I know there are a lot of different angles on this conversation, and we're only going to be able to touch a few with the limited time that we have. But for everybody who's on the Zoom and in the YouTube live, please do contribute. Please do write your comments, your thoughts, your questions, get them in the chat. And even if we don't have a chance to touch on them or respond to them today, we will definitely take every single comment on board. Your words won't disappear. They're all important, and they will form, you know, the basis for future conversations.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Nat. And yeah, thanks everyone for being on. And there's a lot of talent here in this call, and there's a lot of talent feeding in on YouTube as well. So we're all immensely proud to call you family, and to be looking at how to achieve positive change together. So Alex, who's the MYM channel manager, who gave you the intro there, Natalie, as he said, is a longtime board member. And what we'll be doing is having a chat with all our panelists today, just a chance to share and express how they're feeling, what they'd like to see change, and also what MYM and Fully Focused can do to help continue to facilitate and support these conversations. So that will be the kind of shape of our hour and a half together.
We're going to have about 5 minutes per person from the speakers that we have today. I'll intro each of the speakers with kind of just a short overview of who they are. I will give each speaker a 1 minute signal just to let you know that you have a minute left. And then I may need to rudely interrupt. I don't want to do that. I hate doing it, but I may need to do that just to make sure that we leave enough space for everybody to talk today. So on that note, the first speaker that we have is Tan Tan. And Tan Tan will be reading a poem, Why Do We Even Need to Ask the Questions, Do Black Lives Matter? So over to you, Tan Tan.
Hi guys, hi everyone who's watching. So awkward. I wish we didn't have to have this conversation, but we do. So I've never actually performed, ever. I didn't even ever release a piece until this time. So I'm gonna be looking at my phone. I don't know for heart, and I'm really, really sorry if, yeah, but here we go. So now you listen. I can only echo the voices of those around me, and of which they can only echo the voices of those before us. Because what's new to say? What do you say? Please can you treat us like human beings because we're just like you but with dark skin? Or please can you treat me as you would your pet because I have more feelings and emotional intelligence? Please can you treat us better than you did your ancestors, than you did our ancestors, the ones from the West Coast that you sent into slavery, the ones that you threw overboard and changed their names, raped, used, beat and sold like cattle? Or please can you treat us better than you did our ancestors, the ones from the southern parts of Africa, where you invaded their lands and claimed them as your own, where you extracted our minerals and took them to your home and used us as laborers and guinea pigs and then tested your vaccines? Please include us in the community, the TV screens, and please allow us to have toys that look like us so our children, just like your children, can feel a part. That same question that our ancestors asked when you had invited them into your country and promised them jobs and a happy life, and instead you watched and you participated when they were racially abused and ostracized. Please can you teach our history so that our offspring can understand everything that we have been through and everything we once were and have context to the society they live in, and so that your offspring may be better than you and understand the contributions that people of color made and why it's not okay to scream, go back home to your country. Because they will know how the majority of black and brown people arrived here and understand it was their ancestors that invaded their lands first. Please can the police and the justice system protect us and look after us just as they do for you. Just as we asked you to in 1972 after the case of the Oval Four, or rather in 1987 after Walter Macmillan was wrongly accused and imprisoned after you captured 5 young boys and gave them labels for a crime that they didn't do, or perhaps even after our brother Stephen Lawrence was killed in 1993, and it took 9 years for a conviction. For generations, we have spoken and we have written, and after nearly every public name, we have marched and we have rioted. Behind closed doors, we have cried and we have suffered. And now we're tired. We are tired because we've said it all. We are tired because the leaders before us have said it all. The recorded statistics have said enough. The books we have written say it all. The protests, the posters, the marches, the riots, the deaths, the fight, the struggle, the celebrities, the activists and the generations. The poetry, the songs, the artwork and the abuse. But yet in 2020, we find ourselves having to say, please, my stomach hurts. I can't breathe. My neck hurts. Everything hurts. They're going to kill me. And still, you killed him. So I think it's fair to say, we've said it all. Now you listen. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think when I wrote that, like I said, I don't usually share, even though I write. I wrote it after I think about 3 or 4 days of discussing and just deep in what had happened. And I thought, even in Fully Focused, by the time I joined, I think at the time, Fully Focused was still talking about, right from wrong, and I thought, even now, the fact that we're here, same group, discussing another, I don't know, it's so tiring. I feel like that describes everything I feel like. I find it almost laughable, that we're asked again to explain, we're asked again to review. I'm coming out of work meetings that I'm sure they've had before, oh, how can we incorporate? I just, yeah, that's all I have to say.
That was super powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tantan. It's not easy to share pain. It's not easy to share it when you're in the midst of it. So thank you so much for that. What I'd quite like to do is allow everybody to introduce themselves now, just so we know who's on the call as well. So let's start with Imani, just a quick kind of overview of who you are, what you do, and then we'll just jump through to each of the panelists from there. So over to you, Imani.
Hey guys, my name is Imani Simpson, as it says below. Some of you might know me from the YouTube video, the short film that we put on MYM last year called Imani, starring Javan Wade. I'm the CEO of AV Art Inspires, social entrepreneur, youth coach, and black man, if you can't see that already. So yeah, this is definitely a draining time for us to be constantly speaking about it. But if we don't use our voice in this time, then someone else will control the narrative. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Imani. Thank you for being here. Next up, Selaam Adonu.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Selaam. Most people just call me Sel. I'm part of the youth team with MYM Fully Focused. I'm an actor, director, producer, and I'm just here to give my thoughts and express some emotions on my personal experience. So yeah.
Thank you, Selaam. Thank you for being here. Next up, Musa, man like Musa.
Hello. My name is Musa Innes. I'm a spoken word artist, graphic designer, stylist. I'm part of the MYM team. And yeah, I'm just here to give my opinion on the matter at hand.
All round amazing, Musa. Next up, Shanae.
Hi everyone, I'm Shanae. I'm a youth activism coordinator at the Forefront Project, and we support young people that have experiences of serious youth violence and state violence too.
Thank you, Shanae. Amazing organisation. Love the work that you guys do. Next up, Muhammad Ali.
Hey everyone, my name is Muhammad Ali Shushtari. I'm an actor, writer, and I'm part of MYM team. Yeah, I just wanted to touch upon my personal experience and yeah, let's talk about that.
Thank you, Muhammad Ali. And next up, Ajani.
Hey guys, sorry, my name is Ajani. I'm a filmmaker, writer, director, and sometimes actor. And yeah, I talk about this all the time.
Been talking about it, stay talking about it. Next up, Haja Marie.
Hi, I'm Haja. I'm a writer. I've written on race and identity and the idea of space a lot. Most probably the one you've heard about is the Gauden one about taking up space and white people not moving out the way in public. And I just wanted to talk about just what it's like being in these institutions and white spaces.
Thank you, Haja. Next up, Tayo.
Hi everybody, I'm Tayo. I'm a writer director. I think what I wanted to talk today about was working in high-end television and how there needs to be more safe spaces for BAME people of color.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tayo. And Sawa?
Hello, my name is Sarah. I'm a writer and aspiring editor, and I've just come to be part of the conversation and just share my experiences and help change.
Thank you, Sarah. And next up, Shakiel.
Shakiel's not with us yet. He's going to be joining us in about half an hour or so.
Okay, fine. So lastly, Ignatius, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Ignatius, and I'm a director/writer, also a rapper, and today I'm going to be talking about the equality of the field.
Thank you, Ignatius. So next up, we have Imani talking about what he's doing at the moment. Imani, you've got 5 minutes. I'll let you know when you have a minute left.
Perfect. So, yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to come and share with you guys. MYM is obviously a platform that we've collaborated with before, and I love the fact that you guys are so youth focused. It's in your name. You know, you can't get away from that. So, I guess, as I said, as a black man, you know, it's been very draining over the last few weeks to see a lot of the different things that have been going on in America. But at the same time, it's been quite empowering, you know, to see people coming together. You know, I went to a march on Sunday, and the energy was yeah, it was crazy, and to see a lot of the young people in the windows, you know, really supporting the movement and helping to kind of spread that noise that we're not accepting this as a generation. So for me, one of the things that we're working on now is really trying to amplify that voice. You know, to be honest, I don't really want to be the spokesperson for this conversation. You know, I'd rather that, you know, as one of my friends said the other day on Good Morning Britain, you know, maybe it would be a good idea if there was a panel of white people talking about what racism means, rather than it always being us, because we know what it means. We've been saying it, we've been banging on the doors, we've been saying this is out of order, and there hasn't really been, I guess, much kind of regard for it previously. So yeah, you know, I think going forward, the aim is to definitely to allow spaces for conversations to happen, honest conversations where people can be educated, where it's not about anger. You know, there's a lot of people that are awoken now. They didn't even realize it was that deep. And I think that the beauty of this sad situation, which I like to call a perfect storm, is that you've got everyone looking right now at this situation and saying, raw, okay, oh my gosh, we didn't even realize it was that deep. And COVID's allowed that to happen because everyone's at home and seeing it on their TV and watching it on their phone. So now it's about strategy. Now it's about that collective kind of understanding of what we need to do next. You know, there's a lot of behind the scenes conversations that need to happen. There's a lot of kind of in front of the camera unity that needs to happen. And people like Shanae and Temi need to continue staying on people's necks, you know, and letting people know about the injustices in the UK. But, you know, overall, I think that it's just about everyone playing their positions. And I definitely feel like my position is to tell stories, is to allow young people to articulate themselves in the best way possible, and to just keep being a role model. You know, you guys that have watched my film will know that I'm all about the youth and all about trying to, you know, give alternative pathways. And I don't feel like this situation is any different. I'm not here to incite hate. You know, I've seen Tommy Robinson talking a bag of crud on IGTV talking about he's coming to march. Let him come and march. We don't care about all of that. You know, you can come with your hate and all of that. We're not on hate. We're standing, we've got a cause, we know what we're here to do. And I think it's important that we just keep our eyes on the prize and know that a lot has changed in the last 3 weeks. So yeah, that's my take on it, I guess.
Thank you. We've still got a couple of minutes if anybody wants to put a question or responds to Imani.
Yeah, feel free. Yeah.
I think personally, what you're saying is literally correct. I'm kind of gonna touch upon it more. I think just keep doing you. Keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, the conversation is getting tired, but if we keep doing what we're doing, then nothing can stop us really.
Yeah, 100% Musa. And I think one of the things that I've had to change my thought process about is about this idea that, right now isn't the time to sit down and say we don't want to have the conversation as much as it's draining. It's like now actually people are saying, oh yeah, guys, like, we've seen your hundreds of emails that you've been sending about some of these issues. Now we need you, so now this is the time for us to get that second wind as a people and to be able to go in and articulate ourselves. And to represent properly, because I think there's a lot that needs to change structurally. There's a lot that needs to change within the community and also internally. So this is a time for people to really dig deep and play their positions.
Yeah, it's great thoughts. Thank you so much, Imani. Next up is Selaam Adonu.
Yeah, that's me. So hi everyone. Hope everyone's doing good. So this whole experience for me has been crazy because I came into 2020 thinking this is going to be my year. I was producing more. I got involved with so much more MYM projects thanks to Nick and Jade. I was literally producing my first short films with my friends Marcus and Tyreek. Like so much was going well, and then obviously Corona happened, and when that happened, it did bring me down a bit. There was a time when I thought, okay, so now everything I've had planned has come to a stop, and there's not much I can do as a young person because I can't go out to do all these things that I've planned out. Every month I had a plan that I'm going to do this, this, and this, and now I can't do it because I'm stuck inside. So I used this opportunity to take to social media, and I thought, okay, cool, I can use my talents, my personality, my charisma to make people happy and inspire people through my social media. So that's when I started making videos where I just make people laugh, make people happy. And I noticed when I was doing these things, when you do, like, when you're at a peak and you're achieving such great things, it comes with a lot of hate as well. So there'd be times when obviously I'd be called, it's like a racial term, a coup, which is a black entertainer. And these things are things that I've just brushed away. So I'm just talking about my personal experiences that I've had to go through this time period. And then the whole issue with George Floyd happened, and it hit me hard. Like what Imani was saying, I wanted to touch up on. It woke me up a lot. Like I'd always known that these things were happening, but to see it and to see these things are happening to people that look like me puts me in a position where, cool, if I go out on the streets, all these things my mum has taught me as like, when I go out on the streets and I have my hood up, can these things happen to me as well? So I voiced my opinion like very strongly on my social media. I started writing spoken words. And I had a lot of white friends who weren't speaking up at all. And Imani put it as it's a perfect storm where it's important for the white community as well, along with the black community, to come together and talk about these things. And I was so confused as to why all my white friends were quiet. No one was saying anything, and because they loved the culture, they loved the fashion, but when all this suffering is happening, they're silent. So I took to my social media and I was asking questions, I was educating, I was inspiring. And then what happened was there was a female, that I obviously can't name, who said a lot of racist comments.
To let you know, you've got 1 minute still on.
Cool, yeah. That why are black people angry? Being vocal is just making it worse. And that sort of mindset made me think, why are people thinking like this when all we need to do is come together? So it's been a big experience, and I've learned that getting angry isn't the problem. It's it's about coming together. So I think that's really what I've got to be saying. I hope I didn't ramble too much, but yeah.
Not at all. You definitely touched on some topics that I think a lot of people who are listening in and a lot of the panelists have experienced over the past few weeks. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Next up is Musa. Over to you, man like Musa.
Hello again. Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything that's been said so far. I feel, for me, again, I can only speak on my experience and my knowledge, and for me, I guess where this whole thing even stems from, again, it's just my opinion, is the home. Like, I feel if we're not loved, respected, and don't feel even comfortable at home, then how are we supposed to go out, not just even as Black people, as people, into the world and respect and care for anything else? So based on my knowledge and experience and story, my grandmother, she doesn't want to go back to Jamaica. She never wants to go back there for her reasons, which are understandable. And I'm not upset nor mad at that, but I feel because of these facts, it's ultimately installed a perspective on how home is. And she's installed that into me, and like everyone that she's brought around. And ultimately, I feel that that's the wrong place to start with something like this. And then because of scenarios like this, it might just be my grandparent. But I feel if it's more common, then it makes sense why these issues are, because if then we're at home and then we're criticized by the way our hair is, the way our skin is, or anything, then we're going to be the people that hold on to them. We're going to hold on to that hate, that grudge, and we're going to grow up. So going out and seeing someone of the same race, so if we're being told like our hair is nappy or whatever, and then we go out, we see someone with nappy hair, we'll put them down by saying that, rather than uplifting and supporting everyone. So I feel it's about literally coming together and supporting each other in everything we're trying to do. So literally everything that all of us here want to do, we need to support each other so that we can build ourselves up and we can't be stopped. Same way as MYM has built themselves up by connecting with people, supporting each other and becoming our ultimate family. Because I feel that the home, literally our home, my home, I don't have my dad here in the house, and that's for whatever reasons, understandable, but that's ultimately a fracture in the home. And because of things like that, if he's in my life, which is good, and he's able to tell me about like experiences that he's had himself. So when I've been stopped and searched, he's been able to guide me, but I've been fortunate in that regard because I've had him in my life. And for other people that might not have had a father figure or someone of that caliber to guide them and support them the same way, they'll hold on to that grudge. And then we're on the street as well, and we see, and I can speak from my experience, that if I was to, if I'm walking in the same direction or in the opposite direction as someone with their hood up, I'm going to feel a certain type of way, and that's about my own people. So I feel that perspective needs to change somehow by just looking at ourselves, loving ourselves, and pushing out as much love as we can. Even one Black guy that I know, he did like a course on financial freedom and support, and he wanted to do it for Black people. He went and did the course, spent money on it, and then tried to do an open free course for everyone that he knows that is Black. So that was over 50 people. And with that, not one person, not even his brother, got involved or said anything. So he was then like, I'm trying to give out free information for you guys to support yourselves, but it hasn't happened. So he couldn't build that foundation, which again, is the home, is the whole perspective of home that I keep talking about. And yeah, that's ultimately where I stand. We just need to stand by each other through thick, through thin, through every scenario. There's loads of people that
Sorry, to let you know you've got a minute left, Musa.
All good, all good. Yeah, so just from all the people that I know, I try to support them in every way, in every format that I can. So in order for them to build themselves up and to be the best person that they can be. So all you Black women, love yourselves, love your hair, love your skin. All you Black men, the same. Love your skin, love yourselves. Oh, just love yourselves, do you know what I mean? And then we can go forward from there.
Thank you, Musa. I love that. Starts and ends with love, love of self, love of community, love of culture. That was really powerful. Thank you. Next up is Shanae. Hi, Shanae. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shanae, and I'm a youth activism coordinator from the Forefront Project. Yeah, I just want to start off by saying Forefront Project is a member-led youth organisation that empowers young people and communities to fight for justice, peace and freedom. And we support members with real lived experiences of violence, serious youth violence, and the criminal justice system and state violence. We don't detach the two. And we empower and support our young people to create change in their own lives, communities and society. And I just think, I believe that in this time, in the context of the Black Lives Matter movement and what we're seeing today, I just feel like we should fix our focus on the institutional and structural racism and violence that's perpetuated by white supremacy. And when we discuss issues in the Black community, I think it's important to discuss the history and the issues that underpin and drive the issues within our community. Yeah, I just think that's really important. So yeah, at the Forefront Project, we fight for justice, we expose structural injustice, we mobilize those that are most affected by injustice, and we build transformative justice practices, which I'll touch on a bit later. We fight for peace, we support members to heal and promote radical self-care, we build community accountability, and we advocate for approaches that increase safety, and we fight for freedom. We build pride in our cultural identity, we create space to envision freedom, and we provide anti-oppression and liberation education. And so I just wanted to start off by just saying, yeah, this time has been a bit crazy for us. We are an organization that fights for justice, and we speak about the inherently racist and violent criminal justice system that we have in this country today. So whilst we accept that it is beautiful to see all of this love and solidarity over here and across the world for our brothers in the US, we have expressed our frustrations, and we've been mobilizing people and been shifting the narrative at the protest more recently and talking about how we have our own George Floyds, we have our own Mike Browns, we have our own young people that are brutalized and beaten and attacked on a daily basis in this country. We've actually created a resource on our website, if you head to forefrontproject.org, called Rest in Power, where we are building a database, we are building the stories, we're uplifting the names of those that have been killed in this country, we are sharing their stories. There's been 1,000 at the protest. When we've been shifting the narrative, we've been using the statistic of 1,741, and that was last week. The number is now 1,743. And yeah, again, it just highlights that it's a global problem, it's a global issue, and we have our problems on our doorstep. And yeah, if you head to that resource, we are uplifting their names, we're sharing their stories, and we are actively advocating for the abolition of prisons and policing in this country. We believe in cultivating practices and systems that cultivate the things that we know build peace, such as accountability, love, healing. We advocate for divesting and taking money and defunding the police and investing in communities, investing in our lives, investing in love and healing-centered approaches. We advocate against punitive approaches, and yeah, just research the concept of transformative justice. That's what we're trying to bring about. That's what we're trying to advocate and bring about, more community-based care. We believe in just revolutionizing the whole system. We believe that the whole system is inherently racist and violent. We believe the criminal justice system drives violence, it perpetuates violence, and it contributes to every other type of violence that we see in our community. And yeah, we support those that are impacted by police violence. So it's a daily thing, it's a weekly thing, it's a monthly thing. young people are being beaten daily. We have a platform called our Forefront Voices, where we're amplifying the voices of our young people that are abused and harassed and attacked by those that are meant to serve and protect them. Our young people get strip searched. They get sexually abused by police officers. They get told to squat down and get their hands stuck in them. Yeah, it's the realness of our criminal justice system over here. We have issues.
Sorry, just to let you know, you've got a minute left, but please keep rolling, please.
Thank you. And yeah, we accept and we acknowledge that Black people are disproportionately impacted by every single police power. There's extreme racial disparities at every single level of the criminal justice system. The stop and search, use of tasers, the use of use of excessive force. I'm just going to quickly run through the proportion of BME deaths in custody where restraint or use of force is a feature is over 2 times greater than it is in other deaths in custody. The proportion of BME deaths in custody where mental health related issues are a feature is nearly 2 times greater than it is in other deaths in custody. And yeah, there's just we're actively advocating to just shut down the criminal justice system over here and reduce the funding that's going to police. And I just advise everyone to just research and know the names of those. It's not enough to just know George Floyd's story. I just said, please, I just hope that everyone on this call, everyone that's listening to my voice, to just research the names of those. Know about Rashawn Child. You should know Edson DaCosta's name. You should know Joy Gardner's name. You should know Brian Douglas's name. These are people that have been killed by the state in this country, and their stories need to be heard. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much, Shanae. And the organization is forefront.org if people want to find it online. Is that right?
Yes. Forefrontproject.org.
Yeah, I'd just like to jump in there as well and say that Forefront have been doing great work, and it's so important that things are community led, and the young people that Forefront have been empowering is what's going to change things, because without that solid foundation of knowing who you are and what you stand for, and that you stand firm and you stand equal, then how do you go forward? So yeah, definitely there's been a lot of positive response to Forefront. So big up Forefront every time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shanae. That was so powerful. Shanae, sorry, I keep calling you Shanae. Shanae. I have a question that's come through in the comments, and this is open to everybody who's in the kind of film media industry. And it's, what do you believe media companies should be doing more of or should make use of in order to further this movement? You don't have to answer that question, but you can absolutely keep it in mind.
Let me take that, please, Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally think that the media platforms that have millions of viewers every day need to change the type of content that is being put out, because content is one of the media is one of the biggest means of people gathering information. And I think that at the moment it's one single narrative, that being on the road and trapping is the only way out. Yes, we know that's a lot of people's story, but there's so many other amazing stories from people that didn't start there. And I think that there has to be a variety. There's a saying that if you can't see it, you can't be it. And I think that one of the reasons why there's such a prevalence of youth violence, in my opinion, a lot of the time is because they think that that's the way. I remember when I was in school, I used to rap about certain things because that's what I saw on TV. That's what I saw the man them doing. And we just need to know that there's a lot of kids that don't need to go that path. There's some people that's their default setting, unfortunately. But there's a lot of kids that if you gave them an alternative thing to see, and they could see other alternative pathways, that they would choose that over that lifestyle. So I just think that we need to have different narratives out there, and now, not in a couple of weeks. We need it now. We need different storylines, man.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you, Imani. Ted just wants to jump in to do some big ups. Come on, Ted.
Oi.
I
just want to shout out Shanae and Forefront for all the amazing work that you guys are doing. Definitely power to you guys. I want to shout out Tantan for the poem, and just to let you know, Tantan, that there was a lot of support for you in the chat. People were saying powerful, well done, powerful, loads of claps, big up yourself, Tantan, loads of hearts, claps, more powerfuls, really good. Don't give up, amazing, very powerful. So I just wanted you to know that as well. And I wanted to shout out Sel as well for sharing your powerful words with us, and also it's not always easy to share. So thank you for doing that.
And also, Sel, like obviously, Sel, we're all on social media ourselves, so we all experience some of what you've experienced too, you know. So
yeah,
we're in it together for sure.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I'm here for everything. I'm here. I'm ready. I am ready. Also, shout out Imani as well. I've got a lot of love for you, bro. Thank you for being here. I think that what you're doing is very powerful. I think Rosa's collecting questions because there's a few in here. So I guess I won't ask the questions, but there's also some good comments as well. So this one is not a question. This one's from Nicola. I think that's my sister, Nick X. Blessing. She said, if people don't know the history, they will not understand the depth of the issue at hand. Many people don't understand why there is such an uproar over something that happened in the States, completely isolating the incident. Education for those who want it is so important. And those who don't want it would be helpful for them as well. More helpful for them.
I think it's often one of the quite common complaints that I've heard recently, not complaints, but frustrations, is that the labour of education sits on the shoulders of the Black community, and that actually it's quite easy to go out and find resources and education that it is there. But I think the power of this movement is that education is becoming so much more visible.
Yeah,
that's powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, knowledge is power, we know that, but there's also conversations and debates going on MYM as well, which we'll come to later. But shout out all of the MYM fans that are tuned in and listening, and I've got something constructive to say. There's a question here as well. What do you believe media companies should be doing more of, should make use of, in order to further this movement? And also on your point, Imani, that's a panel that we can definitely put together. I think it's about who should be on that panel. Who do we want? What's the number one panel lineup look like? And we'll go out and we'll get it.
Yeah, sorry, can I just add to that question?
Yeah, you can call me, or you can put it in the chat if you want. Yeah, whatever's best, man. Whatever's best. Yeah, please do, Tantan. I'm gonna come off now because my voice is here, ready to be heard at any time, but it's not about mine right now. Go, Tantan.
Just add to that, Imani, I liked what you were saying about what content needs to be made, but I think ultimately I work within a media company, and I think what is important to understand is that actually inside management teams and inside commissioning teams, it is one color, and therefore in that color no one can actually raise their hand to suggest, oh, I know, Black lives are more than that. Oh, I know, why don't we perpetuate something different? Why don't we speak another narrative? My life actually wasn't like that. There's no one in there to actually make them kind of suggestions. So I think one thing that media companies should do in-house also is to not just create diversity on that lower level, but to create diversity all the way up to the top. And therefore it would change what's coming out of the mouth, and it would change what kind of things are being made, and, to actually support fully, like, inside the organizations, because I can tell you that sometimes it looks like support from the outside, but it's definitely not support from the inside, and therefore nobody is making anything that makes sense.
Yeah, so I would agree with that, Tan, and I'm not gonna dispute that in any format. What I was more so saying, just to clarify, is those in our community that have platforms that don't require that top-down approach, and is that those that are pushing the narrative out from where we're coming from need to have that conversation, is what I'm saying. I think you're right 100%. If you're in a room and you're from the, whatever these big organizations are, you're not going to maybe see anything different, but we have our own media platforms that get millions of views on a day-to-day basis. And if they aren't part of the change from the ground up, then, how can we expect someone that isn't from the ends to see that? So there's a lot that needs to be said, but you're 100% right with that.
Can I just add as well that I have a friend who's working on a Netflix show coming up in a couple of months, and what that particular show is doing is they hired her as the diversity manager. So her whole job is to get people of color onto big high-end TV productions, and I think that's a modem that other productions and other, I guess, companies should take note of. Do you know what I mean? And at the same time, hire the people that know where to look. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of people say, I don't know where so-and-so is, or I can't find a person of color to do art or to do sound or to do this, but they just don't know them. So another thing would be to hire people that have access into those communities where you can get people, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Also, we need to see those people in the boardrooms of not just music companies. So for example, I know Link Up TV have been rightly sharing pictures of young, successful A&R managers, etc., across the music industry. And it's really brilliant to see. And we also need that in the TV and film. We should be able to do the same with TV and film industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Great conversation. If anybody else wants to add anything, please do now. Otherwise, I'll move on to Muhammad Ali, who's going to talk to us about his experience of growing up in Southampton versus London.
Sorry, just quickly, someone on MYM asked if the Imani story was really based on your real life, Imani.
Yes, it was. It's about 85% accurate, but it was about my story. Yeah.
There was another question earlier for you as well. I'll go back and get it later on. But yeah, I think what you're saying is a very true. Difficult conversations are the conversations that need to be had, not preaching to the choir, but the difficult conversations are the hardest ones to have when there's a lot of passion and pain to have in a constructive way. But let's get them going.
Absolutely. On that note, over to you, Muhammad Ali.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say everything that's been said has been spot on, and it's absolutely amazing to hear all these amazing stuff coming out. Yeah, what I would say, adding to what we were saying, I think a perfect example is just, if anyone's seen the Netflix show When They See Us, amazing show. I think what was good about that was it humanized these characters. We saw the humans, you know, we saw these kids, you know. So I feel like these movies that are coming out will humanize these characters that we know, these people that we know, because it's a completely different medium on a human level. And once we know that, how can that be done to a human, first of all, then we'll start thinking, wow, this needs to change. So yeah, definitely on the media side of stuff, it's about sharing these stories and humanizing it to the best way. That being said, I just wanted to touch upon my personal experiences. I think particularly in the UK, racism is predominantly performed subtly. So sometimes you don't know if you're 50-50 about it. You don't know if you've been mistreated or been shown negative attention. You know, it's kind of that benefit of the doubt type of thing. But deep down, you feel it, because you can feel when someone's moving weird around you, and there's a negative perception of you. But yeah, I feel like that's typical in the UK, opposed to the US and other countries. But yeah, it's typical across the board in job titles, in university entry, and walking to a car boot which is majority white people, and then just them looking at you, and you don't know what to say. Yeah, like one experience for me was when I was like 8 years old, and I'm walking down with my mum and my baby brother's in the pushchair, and yeah, he just gets spat on. And then what can I do? I'm 8-9 years old. What can I do? I'm looking at it and I'm shocked. I don't know what to do. Yeah, that's. I feel like we need to express ourselves. And my experiences, I was living in Southampton for 10 years. I moved over here when I was 11. And what I found was there, because Southampton is more predominantly white surroundings and white people. And when I was living in Southampton, I was living in a place called Millbrook, and we were the only brown family over there. And my mum was scared to wear headscarf. My whole family was kind of scared to live there. And it's just that experience of, you know, being the only family, being the only brown person in the room, being the only brown person in the classroom, being the only brown family in the area. But I kind of, when I moved over to London, it kind of turned opposites, where like where I'm living right now, where it's predominantly Asian, it's predominantly people like me. And then the minority is actually the white people. There's actually 2 white families on our roads, you know? And it just made me think, do those 2 white families feel oppressed? From what I see, no, they don't. I don't see, there's nothing wrong. Because we accept them, because we have positive perceptions of white people generally, don't we? So yeah, I think it's about perceptions, which we need to develop, and we need to look into, and it's not something that's gonna change in like one day. It's something that we need to change over time. We need to look at the educational structure. We need to make structural change from institutional systemic change. We need to look into all this stuff. But yeah, that's my positive. That's my personal experience on it, and that's why I feel. But we've set the precedent, and we're moving in the right direction. So like, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better.
Thank you, Muhammad Ali. It's just awful to hear about your experience in Southampton, but it's cathartic to share. I'm sure you'll agree. You know, this space is necessary, and it's necessary for you to be able to talk about that openly. There's a couple of questions that are coming through. I'm just going to throw them out there, and by all means, if whatever you want to touch on, just kind of interject or let me know. So the first one was, what do we think about Black Lives Matter being a trend? Trends are usually short term. Do we think it's possible for actual valuable long-term changes to happen as a result?
Yeah, definitely. I like when all these social media posts were getting posted about Black Lives Matter. I didn't really want to post anything, because I didn't know what to post, because I didn't want to fall into the loophole of just posting and showing that I'm together. I don't feel like I need to post something to show that I'm supporting the movement. There's other ways you can do it. So I feel like the whole idea of people feeling that they have to post is good. It is good, but to a certain extent, you shouldn't be demonized and feel that you're not in the circle because you're not posting something. So in that side of things, is it really authentic? Do the far majority of people that are posting on social media and are following this trend, are they authentic? And we're gonna see if they really believe in this matter, and see if they're gonna be invested in the long run, because that's what we need to be. We need to be invested in the long run, so that our next generation don't have to go through these issues.
Absolutely. I think Alex has something to add to this as well, Al.
Agree with that, Mo, that it's all about the long run, and things that can last in the long run. So some of the positives that I do see, coming from the movement is those that are trying to make changes to law and, make changes to policy, because as you said, I think those after, well, I don't think the hashtag would ever die, but after that goes away, those laws and those things would still be in power, like the Breonna Taylor law that they're trying to get passed, so that police can't do no knock warrants, stuff like that. So I think hopefully more stuff like that comes from the movement that would solidify it and will leave space for change going forward.
Just wanted to add on, you can
go ahead, please.
I just wanted to add on, because like how I agree with what you're saying, that Black Lives Matter is not a trend, because Black lives have always mattered, like for years and years. It's never been a short-term thing. Like we've always mattered. So when I'm hearing things, I've heard a lot about like all lives matter as well, and the debate about if Black Lives Matter, doesn't all lives matter as well. But Black Lives Matter is about, yes, all lives do matter, but right now, as of what's going on for all these years, the abuse, the racism, the discrimination, Black lives are the ones that need to be talked about, need to be supported by people everywhere.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, that if you don't have to post if you're just doing it because you feel like people are watching you. It needs to
your intention
come from your heart. Yeah, like you want to be educated, you want to know what's going on, but you shouldn't be doing it because, they're gonna get angry at me, or they're not, they're gonna have a different perception of me. It's not about what people perceive about you, it's about the movement. So
I think if you go back to to Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, what were they fighting for? They were fighting for civil rights. Civil rights. We see like when people are fighting for single gay people getting together and allowing it, they're fighting for equal rights. We're not fighting for equal rights. We're just saying matter, you know. It's not, we're not asking for a lot, you know. So yeah. So I think we just need to think about that.
Thank you, Mohammed Ali. You raised some really, really good valid points there. Another question that's come through that's really interesting and important that we touch upon today is from Nicola. How, as young people, have you processed your feelings after witnessing what happened to George Floyd and other traumatic images and videos that are being shown in the media? And I know this is a part of that processing, but what other ways are you processing? Feel free to just speak up. Tan.
Hello. I was thinking, should I? I think one thing that's a little bit scary for me, I'm 23, is that the first thing was actually a little bit of desensitization. Oh my gosh, help me. Desensitization. Yeah, there we go. Is that I don't know, depending on how old people are, you've seen it come around. And I think that last question just proves that, like, do we feel like Black Lives Matter? Do you think anything's going to change? I think there is a bit of like, it does bring about like, I don't know, it's like that sinking feeling. It does bring about a little bit of like, oh, what's new, like same old kind of feeling. But for me, obviously I took to writing, and I actually took one step further, not just writing, but to share, because I think to kind of combine an answer of like, is Black Lives gonna change and what have I done? I feel like one, it's understanding that, you know, it will only change if you want it to. It will only be a trend if you allow it to. Personally, that's how I feel as an individual. I feel like, you know, I can't wait for permission for someone to tell me that it's my life matters. I can't wait for permission from society and from social media to tell me that now it's okay for me to talk about things. I can't wait for that permission. It's for me to make every single day. It's my permission to talk about it. In a meeting at work, I'm gonna raise my hand. Yeah, you might not be listening, but I'm gonna keep talking about it until you're bored, until you change. And I think that's what it was for me. Like, how did I change? It wasn't just about writing about it, but it was also about speaking up. Because I think we're quick to say like, and I think with speaking, like things like this is amazing. And I know some people are in like Forefront project, like you're in a huddle of people who also have the same beliefs as you, who also feel the same fight as you. In this situation, like, yeah, we might not come up with a solution that's going to change things overnight, but at the end of the day, you're going to walk away and you're going to feel better. You're going to feel like, wow, I spoke to a few people who understood me. I spoke to so-and-so who had the same, I know like Selaam, like, you know, people have shared their experiences. You can be like, yeah, I had an experience like so-and-so and I understood what Alex was saying. And that's how you kind of move on, because 100% you've got to like not just write or whatever. For me, it was also about sharing, letting my voice be heard, not waiting for no permission, just go ahead and do it.
Hajar had something to add as well. Hajar, would you like to add your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in on the issue of trauma, because I was one of the people who I wasn't able to watch the video of George Floyd being lynched essentially on the street. I couldn't do it, and it made me sad in its own way, and it traumatized me in a way that the world could sit through this like 10-minute video of a Black man being murdered, and that's what it takes for people to believe that this is actually happening. And while I'm like happy that there's so much awareness, and like George Floyd's daughter said, "Daddy changed the world," it just breaks my heart that the world is so sensitized to Black trauma and Black pain. So for me, looking after my mental health was not watching that video, because it's nothing new that I have to see it every time. It will break you eventually, especially like in so much of my writing and so much of my studies, I'm learning about race historically as well as in the present. And I'll talk more on how I'm processing it in my section, but it was more so about just how we're dealing with that trauma collectively, and people being sensitive about where and how they're sharing these videos of Black trauma, because there's awareness. But I think at this stage in 2020, racism isn't about people not knowing that this stuff is happening. Racism is fundamentally about so many people in the world not caring, because as Tantan was saying earlier, we've been talking about this. We've been saying it for generations. Black people aren't just learning about their rights now. We've known deep down that we're human beings and that we matter. But let me not get on too much because I'm going to talk about this more in my own section.
No, it's fine. You're actually up next, Haja. I'm just going to read out a couple of comments that have come through via YouTube and Zoom, and then we'll just go straight back to you if that's okay. Thank you so much. So Oga Owo on YouTube said that we should stop trying to fit into where we don't and start our own things and stick to it, as you don't hear any other race making noise about anything. They just get on with it. There was another comment from Georgia.
Sorry, I just stand by that 1,000,000%. That's what we need to be doing, basically.
No. Wait, no.
Ajani, yeah, please go ahead.
This whole time, but no. Let's be clear. After the Holocaust, Germany had to repay countries for the money that for the loss of earnings and infrastructure that they had. 2, they literally bought a country for them and said, we'll go back there. Cool? So this whole idea about, oh, just get on with it. Fam, they did not just get on with it. Let's stop. Now, 50 years later, after everybody has done what they wanted them to do, they're getting on with it. But this idea of, yo, just shut up and take it, sorry, no, brother. It's a multiple prong attack. Yes, we need to do our thing, but we need to press them, man, as well. We need to flank all angles. But let me not, take up time. Thank you.
No, please, Ajani, please take up time. It's a very important point.
That point as well, sorry to interrupt. Yeah. I just wanted to build on the point where if you look at Black studies and what people have been talking about, we can't just move on from anti-Blackness, because anti-Blackness is the foundation on which our countries are built on. It's always going to be historically Black people at the bottom, because whether it was built on the slavery of our ancestors or the colonization, that's fundamental to what these countries are. It's not something you can move on when it's ingrained in the institutions. It's not something you can move on when you're being attacked on the streets and you're being killed. You can't just ignore that. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to disagree there as well. We've got to keep talking about it because it's not going to go away on its own.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of Black people, young and old, who have these feelings and who feel like much of our demise is because of our own behaviour and because of entrenched anti-Blackness. And this is why this conversation is so important. And this is why it's so important for, you know, when these comments come through, to not suppress them, but rather put them out in the open and have a really honest conversation about that.
Absolutely. Sorry, Musa, I think it was, he was talking about his grandma. It's about also, I love what was just said, by the way, but it was also about understanding each other's trauma. Like, you know, it's not easy. We've gone through so, like, I don't think we are quite understanding the depth. And I think someone said it in the comments, like, I think it was Nicola, like, you've got to understand the history. If you don't do your studies, even as Black people, if you don't understand the kind of traumas that we've been through, and you don't understand what kind of things that we've had, the narrative that we've had pushed at us, and, you know, everything that we've seen, yeah, it's going to be hard to just get up and love yourself. It's going to be hard just to get up and just decide, oh yeah, I'm just going to get on with it. Like, even starting a business, do we even understand certain financial, like how a business is run, finances? Do we get that? Because, like, listen, we've been through so much. They put us through so much. We need to first, like, we can't just ignore it. We literally need to go back, revisit it, have them hurtful conversations, and then I think afterwards it'll be easier to facilitate the moving on.
Absolutely, Tam.
I don't want to come across, sorry to cut you, but I don't want it to come across like I'm saying we should just move on like that. I definitely feel all the conversation needs to happen. All the history research needs to happen, for sure. I'm just saying we should do both, basically.
Yeah, facilitate that.
More, ultimately, is what I'm saying. I don't want it to seem like I'm saying we should just forget about and not understand history, because I understand my grandma's perspective and you know.
Absolutely, and you were highlighting the value of her perspective, and that absolutely came across to me. So I'm going to read out the next comment that came in via Zoom, and I think that segues perfectly into you, Haja. So the next comment was, I agree, subtle racism is rampant in the UK. You don't even know if you should react or if you're tripping. Has anyone experienced this and said anything in return? And that was from Georgia on Zoom. So over to you, Haja.
I'm of the controversial opinion that racism absolutely isn't subtle in the UK. It's hidden, it's disguised, it's ignored, but I wouldn't say that it's anywhere close to being subtle. That was sort of my starting point for my essay that I wrote for Galdem on just negotiations of physical space, because it was after a conversation that was taking place on Twitter, and people were saying, you don't notice racism, but you can walk down a street. It was a challenge that was given by an African-American woman called Hannah Drake. She did it in the US, and you can walk down a street, or you can get on a train, and you can see, do people actually make room for me in the physical world? Before we can then have conversations about whether people are making room for us in institutions and in the workspace. Because if, at the very least, if you're expected to step off the pavement when a group of white people comes through because it's their land, how are they going to make room for you in the academy or in the workplace, in advertising, in media, all of those things? Yeah, and I've been talking about race years now. I went to a school where I was like the only Black person in my year, at an all-white boarding school, and it was very traumatic. I was constantly having to have these battles and defend my identity and defend my experience and say, I'm here, I matter. And it's great seeing this movement take off now, and so many people finally recognizing what we've been saying for so long. But at the same time, it's infuriating that it's just now happening. But unfortunately, it's going to be overwhelming, and it's going to make you angry for a lot longer. We just have to keep fighting through that. And what gave me hope the other day was, yesterday, I believe, was seeing Angela Davis, who has been doing this for so much longer than any of us here, say that this is an exciting moment because it signals that there is significant change taking place right now. So when all of this, when I heard the news about George Floyd, I was researching an essay for the end of my university career. I've been doing philosophy and literature at Warwick. And it's an essay that I'd been researching for a whole year, and it was on something incredibly niche, postmodern aesthetics in coming of age film. And I realized that was something that was deeply personal that probably me and 4 other people care about. But then this news broke, and it sort of, the world shifted, and I felt like I couldn't write what I was writing before. I couldn't do it. There was too much pain. There was too much anger. There were days when all I could do was sleep and cry and sleep again and then wake up only to cry. There was so much in there. And for so long, for the first few days, I was trying to work through that pain to try and just tick the boxes and graduate. And then I had a change of heart, and I spoke to my team, and I was like, look, there's so much anti-Blackness and there's so much weighing me down right now that I can't do anything but write about it. Like I said to the exact words to her, it's when you feel that it's the end of the world and all you can do is write about it, you're going to write about the end of the world. So with COVID and the pandemic and everything that's going on in the world, I felt that I had to change my perspective and my entire research for the essay, because if my education can't be the cause of liberation, then it was all for nothing. So I looked back, I looked at history, as so many people have been pointing out. I looked back at history and all of the leaders who have spoken before me. I looked at Angela Davis, I looked at Audre Lorde, and thought, what is it that we can do? What is it that I can do? What is it they have been telling us to do to change the world? And I used university, and I used the means that I can to change it, because I wouldn't say that I'm an activist, I'm a writer. There are people whose jobs it is to be activists and advocates of these things. And I think that's a lesson that we can all take on. We all have fields that we're in, we all have places, platforms where we have voices, whether it's in our homes, in our communities, in our workspaces, in our neighborhoods, online.
Just to let you know, you have a minute, Haja.
Okay, change the spaces you can. Right now, the world is listening to us. It's sad that it took this long to get here. It's frustrating, but right now you have their ear. If you're able to change something in the tiniest way, that can I can water the seeds that have already been planted for the liberation of Black people in general and the world. Yes, and also, because we're all talking about talking and having these conversations and asking for what we want, we have to know what we're asking for. Like, dig deep, know what you want from the world before you ask it. Know what it is that you want, the change that you want to see in the long term, as well as in the short term. instead of just asking for change's sake, because we've had that over and over again. They abolished slavery and then they gave us the prison industrial complex. It's just change without improvement. So we have to really know what we're asking for. And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to read out some comments that have come in. Somebody just commented on YouTube, "We are tired." And I think that kind of sums up a lot of the sentiment. Jade, our wonderful Jade, our youth participation officer, just said talking is healing, and this is why it's so important to hold these spaces. And we have a question that came through from the Gamer Project on YouTube. Do we think going to these riots is an efficient way to stop racism? Ajani?
Yeah, is this my 5 minutes or maybe just respond to this thing?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so just to respond to that question about riots, you understand, I think, yeah, listen, they've been petitioning for that statue for 2 years. Cool. In one day, them lick it down and dash it in a river. All of a sudden, they're putting it in a museum.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Same thing with George Floyd. There've been Black Lives Matter. Remember, Black Lives Matter was created in about, I think it's 2015 when the Eric Garner thing came about, right? When that whole thing started. All these things that they're talking about now, defunding the police, restructuring how police are qualified, educated, and held accountable. They've been doing since then.
Mm.
But guess what? Them never here. 4 years later, them start burn target. No, Minneapolis change them laws. So, you know, them have a saying in Jamaica, all who can't hear must feel.
Mm.
Subsequently, even slavery ending, I know they don't really teach it here like that. Kind of talk about William Wilberforce. But from my education in Jamaica, Sam Sharp burnt down half of Jamaica. And in 6 months, them end slavery. Why? It was no longer profitable. It was no longer profitable for them because we're gonna keep burn down everything until they're set we free, right? So yes, listen, people have been talking. Again, Kaepernick's been talking about the same thing. So is rioting necessary? It is not necessary unless we're not here. Then we have to take matters into our own hands. So that's what I think about that. Actually, I think you're mute now.
Sorry, I didn't realize I'd skipped you, Ajani, so please do keep it going.
So, oh, no, I was saying you're muted, so I don't know if I should continue.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, again, and it's funny because I was thinking about this and, you know, I'll spend the time responding to the questions more so than what I have to say. But there's an interesting quote here from Walter Rodney where he said that by what standard of morality can the violence used by a slave to break his chains be considered the same as the violence of the slave master? By what standards can we equate the violence of Blacks who have been oppressed, suppressed, depressed, and repressed for 4 centuries with the violence of white fascists? Violence aimed at the recovery of human dignity and at equality cannot be judged by the same yardstick as violence aimed at the maintenance of discrimination and oppression. Mm. So that, you know, Walter Rodney, for the money more want to read and them thing there's that. But to sum up a few things, so yes, you're right, Black Lives Matter is trending and it is trended before. What can we do in the long term? Again, we love use slavery as an analogy because it's the most brutal form of the racism and capitalism. And it also ties into another thing about expressing ourselves. Yes, we all need to express ourselves, but I think we should not react, but respond in the sense that when a slave come up to when a field slave come up to another field slave and say, yo, dog, we're gonna run off of the plantation. He's like, fuck it, let's go. Because he knows what oppression is. He's the brute force. But you see, when a field slave tells a house slave, yo, let's run off the plantation. House slave are gonna be like, why? But where we going though? Mm. I'm in the house still, like, you know what I'm saying? And as much as the house slaves mentality is a bourgeoisie mentality, I think that's the idea. Because you see, if we've always been reacting, meaning we just run off the plantation. But we don't know where we go. It's like, as the sister said about Haja, about long-term. So it's a two-pronged approach where we have to know where we're going and respond to it accordingly, which ties into the work. Like,
Ajani, sorry.
Yeah, man. So, and then about, let's try to think the last thing for touch upon. Yeah, in terms of the long term, again, I think it's about ownership, but I think two, it's also about the collective consciousness about Blackness. You understand? In terms of the reference, we talk about other communities. The reality is other communities were not disjointed or fractured by their shade, by their country, by their tribe. You understand? They were not educated otherwise, to the point where you have Jamaicans who are told that Africans are primitive, but we're Africans. You see what I'm saying? So I think that is it. And I said, yeah, man, in terms of what to change from a production company standpoint, I do think that, listen, give us positions of power. Don't make us a little diversity manager. Because diversity managers cannot green light. And secondly, diversity managers cannot block. You see them two things there? That name power. So unless I am actually the one hiring the crew, unless I'm actually the one commissioning the shows, this diversity manager thing is tokenism. So that's how we make solid change, I think. But yeah, that's time I run.
Some great points made. Thank you so much, Ajani. I'm going to read out a couple of comments. So Musa, you came across really well. Said Muhammad Ali, I know he's here, but I just want to make sure that you saw that comment. Melanie had said change is taking place in the USA and lip service is taking place in the UK. And there's a lot to be said there. And Enver Gedge just sent a nice message to say that you're all coming across beautifully and powerfully. Thank you all for being so vulnerable, open, and empowering. And also, I want to congratulate Haja as well. I think you finished your degree yesterday.
Yes, I did. I wrote 2 research essays, one dedicated to Angela Davis and the other one to Toni Morrison.
Oh,
so I'm pretty happy with how I ended it.
Amazing, amazing.
Thank you so much.
That's how you should have entered.
Yeah. I mean, I entered with Fanon and I entered with Mark, so I entered in strong as well.
Yeah.
And actually, the comment that you left in the chat, I want to read that out. Fanon describes the violence of decolonization as the veritable creation of a new kind of men, which is...
Yeah, it's from the Wretched Earth, the first essay concerning violence, which I think should be a touch point today, because like the work we're doing is still continuing on especially for those of us from previously colonized countries, like I'm from Sierra Leone, so much of what we're doing is still moving on from that colonial mindset, and we need to liberate ourselves from it. We've moved past the necessity, I think, at least in Africa, for the violence of the decolonial period, but we still need to decondition ourselves, and it's still an excellent essay.
Yeah, brilliant essay. Lots of support coming through for your comments, Ajani, and for you, Haja, as well. So moving on to the next panelist, we're running a little bit behind, so sorry if you feel that I'm rushing through. The next person is Tayo, filmmaker FF alumni.
Hi everyone. So basically what I wanted to talk about is kind of my experience working in high-end television. So just before that, I'd like to say I was privileged enough to grow up in a space which was filled with Black love and all of that. And then so going into high-end TV was probably one of the first times I've ever experienced being in a majority white space. For the most part, that and a bit of uni, but you can kind of choose your friends and your cliques in those settings. But obviously when it's work, you just work. So over the course of maybe say the last 4 years is the first time I've kind of seen how being in these spaces can be very uncomfortable for ethnic minorities. And I think due to an issue that happened on a pretty big set at the end of last year, one of my friends ended up in hospital because of the stress of being in a kind of being racially attacked in the workplace, we decided to kind of start forming a collective that I guess creates safe spaces for people of different ethnic minorities in film, because we felt as though it's something that's been neglected. Everyone's talking about getting people in the door or getting people opportunities, but then when people actually get the opportunities and in those spaces, nobody's there to protect them. Nobody's there to show them what is and isn't wrong in a contract. Nobody's there to tell them they're being overworked. There's nobody there to tell them that, you know, that people are taking advantage of them in different ways, shapes and forms. So we looked into like certain unions and, you know, and their Black committees, but, you know, a lot of them seem to like not actually be doing anything about the actual situation that a lot of, I guess, us are in. So I think moving forward, what we're trying to do is kind of create a space where we can kind of, you know, have our own lawyers that we can reach out to and create something that I guess we feel as though is missing in the industry. And I think that's probably what that, I think it was a YouTube comment was saying in terms of like begging, like we go to the institutions that are supposed to be there to protect us, and then when they're not, you know what I mean, we have to do what we have to do for ourselves kind of thing. And I think just touching on that as well, I think the essence of what I got from that YouTuber's comment is the essence of not going where we're tolerated, but going where we're celebrated. And I think when we're unfairly prosecuted, that's when in spaces where we should protest, you know what I mean? Where we're unfairly like not recognized, that's when we I guess raise our voices to fight, in the sense that saying we're just as good, if not better. So I guess forcing, I guess, people to realize that essentially. So I think that's what we're doing. And then I'm also working on a project where we're working on just creating an actual physical space. So like enjoyment, do you know what I mean? I think there's a space where like we don't get to do it. A lot of us spend time protesting, and that's amazing. And we need to fight for what we believe in. But at the same time, I think we also need to be able to enjoy each other's company, enjoy each other as a community, do you know what I mean? And in those communities, build each other up, especially when it comes to industries like music or film, where, you know, it is majority white spaces. So a lot of the time when you're on a 3-month job or a 6-month job, and there's only ever one other person of color there that you can actually kind of, I guess, just have a normal conversation without feeling like you have to walk on eggshells or code switch or anything like that. So creating spaces where we can kind of create a film community as not just necessarily as a network, but as just a group of people like wanting to enjoy each other's company. And I also wanted to shout out a BBC job that I'm doing. They're actually looking for a person of different ethnic minorities as their cast for a big feature. So if there are any Black male actors out there that are looking, hit me up. I'm here to, you know, try and help the community where I can, do you know what I mean? I think,
if
yeah.
you could drop details of the casting call in the chat, then we'll make sure that it gets out to the right people as well within FF.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, doing bits, man, definitely. And you're, you know, I also came from a TV background, and I spent quite a few years in like entertainment TV and working at LWT, ITV, various production companies. And I worked with people that I got on with. I could go to the office and have a laugh with, but they were predominantly white spaces for sure. And at times you feel out of place and that you don't have that space, which is partly why I started Fully Focused. So yeah, I fully appreciate where you're coming from. And again, it also goes back to the appointment of people of color in various roles and commissioning roles and people who are actually employing the crews. And it's time for companies to actually make a stand and say, we're with you now, rather than just say tick box and diversity. So yeah, I feel you, Tayo. Thank you.
Thank you, Tayo. Just a comment from Ajani. Said he 100% agrees with you. Speaking about racism alone limits the multifaceted nature of our experience. We should make work that just allows us to be, laugh, love, and cry. And yeah, I totally agree about that. I hear you're doing a masterclass tomorrow, Tayo. Do you want to talk through that a little bit? Explain to us what that will be about.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention it. So I will be doing a masterclass tomorrow at 2 with MYM, and just kind of, I guess, talking through development process. So we're going to touch on what it looks like to develop from a brief. So I'm going to use a brief that I got from Red Bull once upon a time, and then also maybe working towards a short film brief, or just if you just have an idea and you just don't know how to go from your idea to a script. So we're kind of just going to go through that motion and just use different examples to kind of illustrate that journey, really.
Amazing. So that'll be on MYM 2 p.m. tomorrow. Fantastic.
Don't forget you at the top, Tyre. Don't forget us.
Oh, I love Jade's comment. Yes, bun the tick box mentality, Nikki B. That's a great comment. And we're going to add the link to socials tomorrow for the masterclass if anybody doesn't know how to find the MYM. Okay, the next panelist to speak is Serwa. Are you there? You're on mute, Serwa.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hey.
My name is Sarah and I'm a writer. And one of the reasons I started to do writing was because I wanted to have certain conversations that I knew I couldn't maybe have in person, but have with like a lot of people and make like a big reach. So one of the questions I like to ask people is, when did you know you were Black, or when did you know you were a minority, or you were privileged? And I can think about some of my experiences. When did I learn I was Black? Probably like 5-6 years old, when there was a man who used to come to our house and let his dog poo on our mat and leave. And there was nothing we could do about it. I asked my dad, like, why can we not call the police, or why were the police not helping? And it was simply then I learned that, you know, I was Black and I was at a disadvantage. And even now when I ask people who are white, for example, they can tell me their experience where they've realized that their friend, like of another minority, they've probably been in an incident and they realize that they're treated differently. So when I think about this, I was like, okay, so at 6 years old, I realized I was Black. And then throughout life, I'm reminded in certain situations. And then I think, okay, when I reflect, I think, so it's a societal issue, because I realized that we all believe in society, we all believe in childhood. And with childhood, we all believe preservation of innocence and not overexposing children to certain things. But when it comes to race, it's not applied. Because at 5-6 years old, I realized I was disadvantaged, or if I was in it, like, for example, in situations in classrooms, teachers would treat you differently. And I kind of think, yeah, when it comes to preservation of innocence in childhood, race doesn't apply, because some parents are having to teach their children as young as 10 that this is the way things will be, or how to act when they interact with police officers. I realized that the issue is really deep rooted in society, and society has to change that. So I think, like, by having conversations like this, and progressing and not taking our foot off the gas, then we can change this. Because it's almost weird enough to see that children are being taken to the march. It's something that, you know, they'll have to experience so young. So yeah, that's really my experience and things I have to say.
Thank you, Sarah. There's a comment that's come through that you might want to touch on, just following up on that point. It's from Melanie, and it says, racism in the UK is more dangerous than what is happening elsewhere. The endemic, subtle, drip brainwashing of identity in the Black, British, African, Caribbean people's identity is such that Black people are not united. We grade skin color, hair, nose, size, shape, etc. How can we move forward, love ourselves, seek healing when we are so disunited? And by all means, it's not on you to answer that question in its entirety, but you've got a few more minutes if you want to touch on that.
Well, obviously, I feel like as we're having conversations with children younger than us, that we are, this is the way that we're going to be treated. It's the same way that we can empower our children and literally just to teach them that, to love yourself. There's people out there who are fighting for this and fighting for a change, that you don't have to go through this. But also, like, I guess businesses as well, because a situation I had was, I was an air cadet, and one of the things is that I needed flesh-colored tights, and I didn't, and I knew I was going to get in trouble. And I think it's like that whole idea of being overlooked, that these things shouldn't be overlooked, because it made me feel uncomfortable in a space where I was probably out of two Black people, and I was like, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna get penalized for that. But yeah, if anyone else wants to say anything.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, the question is open. If you'd like me to repeat it, just let me know.
Yeah, could you repeat it, please?
Sure. So Melanie said, racism in the UK is more dangerous than what is happening elsewhere. The endemic, subtle, drip, drip brainwashing of identity in the Black, British, African, Caribbean people's identity is such that Black people are not united. We grade skin color, hair, nose shape, size, etc. How can we move forward, love ourselves, seek healing when we are so disunited?
Yeah, that's one thing which I said I was touching on slightly, in the sense that we need, in the collective consciousness, right? It's for us to kind of start unlearning the subconscious biases that we also have, because we forget, we talk about, white people get the programming, and it's funny because Imani talked about media. Remember, I said it's not only Black people who watch all this roadman thing, yeah? For the people in Newcastle or whoever is them there, and them just have Netflix, all the shows for them say is about Black people being roadman as well. So even for them, there's like, oh, you see what I'm saying? So it's about, again, making the programming that promotes this unity. It's about, again, forcing schools to change the curriculum to involve that and take it in an honest way. But it's also us, because we have to do our own thing, we have to do for them thing, but we have to do a secret thing as well. In terms of the classes, to really learn about each other. So Caribbean people learning about African communities. And so to realize that we're actually the same, we're just in different places. So I think, because, we love to talk about diaspora wars as a joke thing, but like, I'm not gonna lie, somebody who come from Jamaica and come over here and yeah, me dep on a joke thing too. I've seen it manifest in kind of insidious ways, in that actually is a deep-rooted issue, even if it's from my virgin mother are telling in a Somali, don't do what he does when she hears I'm a Jamaican. You see what I mean? It's little things like that. So I think it's about education for ourselves. And then we can learn to like love and accept each other. So like the little light skin jokes stop. The little nappy hair jokes stop. All them things there, them things that we need to start work on.
Very well said. Thank you, Ajani.
Absolutely.
Lots of support in the comments. Next up is Shakiel Ali Yabwa.
What's going on, man? How you doing, man?
Yes, all good, Shaki. Thanks for being here today. So Shak came into the chat a bit later, and Shak is an actor, and he has worked with us in a film called 18 that has had millions of views online, and he struck a real connection with the audience, which is partly why the film has done so well. And he's also one of the leads in The First Team, the new BBC comedy about football. And yeah, thank you for being here, Shaki.
It's all good, man. It's all good, man. I've been listening. There's been some real stuff going on, man. I like it. But
real talk. And you're here. I said some real talk, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of real talk. Everyone's touching on some serious topics, man. I mean, I just wanted to say, like, personally, like, since I believe you got to know where you're coming from to know where you're going in this life. And I feel like a lot of young Black boys don't really know where they're coming from, in a sense. And obviously, like the media, for example, which is run by like 6 corporations who all know each other, so they all spread like one agenda. It's like we're always seen, whether it's Hollywood or wherever, we're seen as criminals. Yeah, in movies, we're seen as criminals. You know, they used to do blackface and have us looking like, they used to call us super predators and have us, you know, looking like we're raping white women, we're a threat to society in a sense, like after slavery was abolished in a sense, which it wasn't really abolished because, you know, Malcolm X died in like 65, so things were still happening. And I just feel like because we're misrepresented, not only is it for other races, but for us as well, we start seeing each other as the threat in a sense, if that makes sense. And I feel like for example, when I was growing up, I never felt like that because I was always watching documentaries on like the Huey Newtons and the Black Panthers and the Malcolm X's and Mansa Musa, who was like the first Black, you know, billionaire in his times. And I knew from young that, cool, that's what I could be. You know, I'm looking at ancient Egyptian documentary. I'm like, oh, that's who my people were. You get it? Because people realize that slavery isn't Black history. It disrupted Black history. You get it? And there's so much things, great things that happened before that are overlooked. And I feel like if we knew, like if we grew up and we saw more Black superheroes, we saw more Black lawyers, Black politicians, and certain things, I feel like we'd be more of a proud people. But it's gotten to a point where, you know, it's easy to say, but some young Black people, they've lost hope. You know, they've given up in a sense because they've been desensitized to the problems that's going on. And I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't say desensitized by what's going on, but it's like when you see all the time, like people are outraged this year talking about George Floyd, but I saw Sandra Bland. You know what I'm saying? I've been seeing it happen, you know? Growing up, I was watching, you know, Def Comedy Jam. So Def Comedy Jam, I was watching that. That's one of my favorite programs. And all the comedians, there was one season, they're all talking about Rodney King. And it was all talking about, yeah, we need to uplift as a people. We need to come together. We can't have this no more. And this was in the 90s. We're talking 20-something years later. It's like the same stuff. It's on repeat. You get it? And I feel like, you know, we are uprising in a sense, but I feel like we could easily be tricked and led astray. Because I believe in, obviously we all believe in Black Lives Matter, and people say, oh, they're about all lives matters. And I think that's stupid, because if 9/11 happened and everyone said, don't forget, and I say about all buildings matters, I'm going to be looked like as an idiot. So people that say things like that should be seen as just don't even speak. If you're
just
not,
you know, you've got a minute, Shaq. Sorry, I'm just doing a flagging when your time's
running. Yeah, that's fine. I feel like as a people, we just need to just be more awake and don't be led astray. I feel like, you know, in this generation, I feel like in the UK, for example, we're very multicultural, and I've got Somalian friends, Afghanistan friends, white friends, Irish friends. Like, it's so mixed that I feel like united we stand, divided we fall. And I feel like this isn't a Black versus white thing. I feel like this is a human problem. You get it? This is good versus evil. And I feel like don't be led astray. You get it? We could easily be tricked out of our position. There's so much good things happening. Everyone's rising up, but one little thing and they'll blame it on the Black Lives Matter movement, which I don't think is correct. And, you know, if we do deeper research, there's always one person controlling both narratives, you know? Like I'm reading some things, you know, the same people that fund Antifa, they're funding Black Lives Matters, and someone's profiting from it at the end of the day. So I feel like you need to do the correct research, due diligence, and know what's really going on. And that's how we're going to be able to help ourselves. And I believe in, you know, the Black Pound and, you know, reinvesting our communities and building it up. Like there was a Black Wall Street, not a lot of people know about, which was obviously burnt down because it was like, oh, these guys are making too much money. You know, we need to integrate actually and stop the segregation so we can get some of their money. We spend 1.2 trillion a year. We're the biggest consumers. And if you look at society, we're not the biggest earners. So if we put that back within us, and, you know, I think everyone could win at the end of the day. I feel like we can't be looking for handouts. We can't be keep saying, please, please, please. We need to be on some militant, you know, do for us and, you know, stand up for what's right and, you know, reinvest, because really you got to hit the pockets. At the end of the day, there's racism. And then sometimes it goes past that way as classism. Like I got brothers that live in the same state as me, they're Irish. They go through the same problems. White privilege don't mean you don't face hard times. It just means that your skin color isn't one of the reasons you're facing hard times yet. So I feel like, you know, there's a lot of conversations to be had. And I feel like a lot of our white friends need to have them conversations behind closed doors with their white friends, their white family members, because, you know, it's causing a lot of confusion. There's people above that's trying to conquer and divide us and make it a race thing when it's not a race thing. And I feel like once people know that, then we could progress.
I just want to slide in there and big you up, Shaq. Not one word of a lie in there, bro.
I appreciate you, bro.
I was meant to stop you like a minute and a half ago, but
I know you can't.
I can't stop this.
Young man,
amazing, man. Amazing, man.
That was brilliant. We got a lot of come-ons and standing ovations. Exactly, absolutely.
Amazing.
Yes, Shaq.
Can I say something?
Real.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys, man.
Let's start and mention something else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shakiel, that was amazing what you said, man. I think you're right about Black slavery isn't just the history of Black people. There's so much history. Like you mentioned Mansa Musa. Like there's not a lot of people know about Mansa Musa. He's regarded as the richest person ever, full stop. He has so much gold. He went to pilgrimage to Mecca with an entourage of 60,000 servants wearing silk. They're all wearing silk. They're all wearing. They're all
black Moors.
Like the massive entourage, and like we need to know about these stories. I've heard actually something that Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan trying to make a movie about that. But this is stuff that we need to do, man.
People don't know these things, and like people will talk about like someone said, sorry guys, but someone said to me the other day, but we gotta have the same energy when it's black on black crime, and I agree. But guess what? Black boys don't kill black boys because they're black. Black boys kill black boys because it's like crabs in a barrel, which comes from systematic oppression at the same time. You get it? Like I got black friends in this. I was in school with people that started fighting each other over postcode wars, but it goes deeper than that. It's not because you're black. You get it? Is an underlying factor. You know, if everyone knows who Willie Lynch is, there's Willie Lynch syndrome, which is a whole mental warfare of turning the black male against the light-skinned male and turning the old black male against the young black male. You know, back in the days when everyone was out here talking about peace and stand up, they was getting locked up. So all our leaders that were trying to show us the right way, they've been locked up. You know, Reagan came in with the whole drug situation. People are losing their families to prisons. People are becoming drug addicts. And it's like people say, yeah, you got to realize that we got to stop feeling sorry for ourselves. Bro, it's not feeling sorry. It's like the best way to put it is we're all here playing Monopoly. And everyone in here that's black or that's brown or that's not got white privilege, we're being told you can't roll the dice yet, you wait. When everyone gets the Mayfairs and gets the properties and rare tears, they say, yeah, you can roll now. Roll for what? There's no way I'm gonna catch up. It's like I'm coming into the race on the you lot on the 7th lap, I'm on the 1st, and you're trying to tell me, listen, man, it's equal now. You could keep. I can't, bro. It's gonna take much longer than that. Really and truly, in America, black people shouldn't pay taxes for 400 years. For the whole amount of time slavery was there, we shouldn't pay taxes. Same in the UK. If that's how we want to do it, that's how we got to get. You can't be telling us, yeah, you're free. Forget about I'm free now, because I'm not free. Because when police see me and I'm an IC free, they're stopping me straight away. And they're making my life hard. You get it? No matter what. And they're going to say, oh, don't pull the race card. But that's what it is.
I'm just going to pause you, Shaq, because Ajani was about to interject when you were talking about black on black crime. And I really want us to address this point because it comes up so much. And I think it's so important to have this conversation.
No, man, interrupt Shaq because the man wants a wicked.
No, wicked. All I said, the chat hasn't been so busy since you came on, Shaq. Just fire emojis.
I have to just Jade wrote, you got me running up and down my yard with my hands in the
Yeah, man. Like the only thing me there said when the black on black crime thing, we need to just stop use that word there. That
exactly. For real.
That does not exist. Literally, they say 90% of crimes, yes, of a black person is committed by a black person, but 90% of crimes on white people are committed by white people.
And like, Chinese people and Indian people, all communities.
You don't hear white on white crime. You don't hear Chinese on Chinese crime, which is to suggest that there's an inherent nature of black people to be violent.
That's when the Italian mobs are killing each other, it's not Italian on Italian crime, it's just gangster.
Exactly. So this is what I said. Make we just not even bother say it. Anytime a man say black on black crime, say listen, stop. Or if you do, flip it on them. Like I remember somebody was telling me about Notting Hill. And I was like, you know what? I kind of love white films sometimes. You know, some of them white films bang. And they were like, white film? I'm like, yeah. You said Moonlight's a black film.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah,
so yeah, that's I was just saying the black on black crime thing. It like, yeah, man. Anytime a man use that word, that just tell them, yo, just.
I feel like that needs to stop. I was at the protest on Sunday at the US Embassy. It was peaceful. No one was fighting the police because the police wasn't bothering no one. They were just standing there keeping an eye out. We was marching all over the place. Everyone was together. You know, most of the time when I look, it's not even a black man that's got the microphone. It's someone that's white saying no justice, no peace. They're the one, like everyone's coming together in a sense. And I feel like that's correct. And I feel like at times like this, everyone needs to stay woke and everyone needs to feel like, you know, the power of the people is stronger than the people in power. And I feel like even though most of these things are staged, don't get wrong, most of these things are staged and most of these things are put in place so we get confused so they could bring a certain martial laws and so forth. But it's like, if you look at the chessboard, we're used as pawns, but at the same time, we're the most powerful piece because used correctly, we could checkmate, we could become a king, we could become a bishop, we could do whatever you want. So you can't look at it like we're just the pawns on the table because we're the most powerful piece. We outnumber all the other pieces that's on the table. So I feel like as a people, as a whole, we need to unite and we need to come together because at the end of the day, that's what they're scared of. That's why they keep trying to cause these problems. I see
Right.
some of the man saying, yeah, Saturday we're gonna go and fight. No, we're not gonna go and fight no one, because that's what they want. Because when a white person gets killed or a black man gets killed, they can say Black Lives Matter did that stuff. That was them. They came out and started killing people. There's people that's infiltrating, and there's people like if this video showing you it's not black people spraying kill cops. It's other people with masks on. And then there's other people that's inciting the riots. It's not black people. Like when the Rodney King riots happened, there was comedians saying, I was at the riots. There's a lot of Mexicans and white people looting, but that's not what's being showed on the TV. But they're gonna use us as the reason for it. So I'm trying to say you gotta be smart. You can't be tricked out of your position. Right now it's nice, you know. Certain things, certain statues getting taken down, but even though they're getting put into museums, you know, there's certain things happening. But what is good is that we could see that we're making an effect. We could see this happening, that happening. Me, I still don't believe some of the stuff. I still believe some of these officers are getting pay leave and they're disappearing to an island because I don't feel like they're gonna all of a sudden Black Lives Matter. So all of a sudden, yeah, take down the statues and.
Sorry, Shaq. I'm gonna have to stop you, Shaq, because we're running well behind. But you're on a roll, and there's never gonna be a point. Sorry, Nick. Go on, Nick.
No, I was saying, yeah, you're right, and we are. And those are beautiful words, Shaq. But also that transitions beautifully into Iggy, because Iggy wanted to talk about how we should be responding and how we should be carrying ourselves on marches, and I think that's a perfect kind of leeway to that.
I just want to end it on one thing then. I just want to say the most powerful weapon in all of this is an educated black man. Know your rights, know what's going on, know who the real enemy is, don't get caught up, don't be led astray, and we'll be all right.
Come on. Black man and black woman.
Yeah, 100%. And everyone else who believes in good over evil.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shaq. Powers, energy,
thank you,
passion,
I appreciate you guys.
It all comes across. Over to you, Ignatius.
Yeah, you see, for me, I'm gonna do two poems I wrote. Like one's obviously my Instagram and everything. That both have like different conflicts with each other. The first one goes like, Black lives don't matter, because Black lives only matter when a white person got caught. Our ancestors is not fight for freedom just to be chained by a white man's system. See, we both know who plays coppers and robbers, heroes and villains, and we still know at the end of the day who's gonna claim to be the victim. You see, they see a black man making illegal profit, but I'm just a wise man trying to be a prophet. I'm far from a preacher, but not close to a sinner. They're right there abusing us, slapping us like hyenas. The only time when they respect us is when they claim our throne like Simba. See, and then the next poem is about, I say, not me attacking black people, but it's more of like the hypocrisy about black people. I'm not saying that, and you know what I mean? So don't attack me, but it goes like this. Black lives matter. I had that so many times to the point that it lost on meaning. How you say Black lives matter when some of us are the ones who are killing each other? The worst thing is seeing a teasing a mother just because another boy just killed another brother. But to you is, geez, my brother from another mother. No, brother, that ain't your brother if you plan to kill his other brother. What? Because I'm black, I'm supposed to be rapping about, I'm from a place that no one's equal. Yin and yang are based on evil. Kill a black person again and again while he's still chasing after my people. Officer, don't shoot, don't reload. Bang, another black man down, but where's my sequel? I ain't saying black so white got something to do with this. I'm just saying both parties need to stop using history to justify their actions. Because I realize now being physical, more like psychological torture. Was it because of an older, moving like a devil on my shoulder? Every single day my heart's getting colder, moving like the winter soldier. The wrong mistake on the battlefield and the game is over. Maybe that's why I'm stuck on this religious thing like a Jehovah Witness. On the streets, no forgiveness, end up getting killed just because you're a witness. I'll be going back and forth like Brexit on my decisions. Going against what I believe in like a politician. How can we all be telling God we want to go to heaven, but we're all acting like sinning is our new religion? But I have a dream. I think we need Martin Luther King's inspiration to change this nation. None of this generation care about education, just like the feds, how drugs become the new medication. The government acts all superior, saying bad things all over bars, all over the media. My brother, my family, your family, we're all categorized as bacteria. It's time for us to change something from your area, you know. And the thing about that, those two poems is about like, you see, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, it's like, cool. They remember us when a black person is possible, you know what I mean? But when they get caught, all of a sudden, Black Lives Matter, you know what I'm saying? And to me, it's more like, it's quite annoying, you know? And the painful part is that when Black Lives Matter happen, you see people in central London, you know, doing the whole walk saying Black Lives Matter. I respect that, I promise you, I respect that. But I didn't go to the march because I saw so many people who are misusing it. You know, I see people playing drone music, celebrating, and they're celebrating for what? You know, they're always saying, that's the thing, like, I feel like this whole Black Lives Matter is more of like a cover-up for people to do their hidden agendas. Then you see, they can be up someone, oh, Black Lives Matter. They can do this, oh, Black Lives Matter. See, I seen a video where a Fed got beaten about Black people, but guess what? Black Lives Matter. But the truth is, the Fed was just there to help out. You know what I mean? And that really hurt me to the point of like where we're all screaming Black Lives Matter, and we understand it's painful. We understand that, listen, yes, we're in a dark place and all that kind of stuff. And we understand, you know, we have to do what we gotta do. By the end of the day, come on, we can't use violence. That's what I don't like about violence. Like, how many times does a Black person got hit? And guess what? It's riots. Guess what? Let's walk. Guess what? Black Lives Matter. You know, to the point of it's so predictable that I'm not even saying white people, but anyone can do anything just to get that riot as like a business kind of thing, you know, to get profit from that. See, we're so predictable where we hear a Black person, it's definitely going to be riots. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag whatever. You know, why does he have to wait every single time a Black person get hit to say Black Lives Matter? This whole thing shouldn't exist in the first place. Should never exist in the first place. You know, I was born in a place of like, well, I was born in Africa where I see Black people 24/7. I got a lot from them, you know. But when I came here around, when I said like year 2, I was bullied like for 3 years straight because I'm Black. I never had this word called, oh, don't touch him, he's dirty. I used to think that, what do you mean I'm dirty? Until I told one of my friends, they said, yo, they just mean you're brown. You know, I never knew what that meant. Racism never existed to me, you know. And even when I ask someone, what's the definition of racism? They say, oh, you know, being disrespectful, discriminating against other skin colors. I say, no, racism goes both ways. Same way as you see a bunch of Black guys walking in a group, you're not gonna go that side because you're gonna think, you know what, those Black people are gonna hate me, they're gonna rob me. You don't know if they're just pastors or anything, you don't know that. You know, we judge I feel like we judge each other before we even get to know each other.
To let you know, you've got a minute left, Iggy.
All right, you know, I feel like we judge each other before we get to know each other, and that's why this whole racism begins. That's where this all never gonna stop. This will never stop until we actually use our voices. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, these guys used their voices to this day. You know what I mean? Martin Luther King didn't say, guys, let's go and beat up all the white people. Man said, I have a dream. To this day, I use that in the form of like, I have a dream where I wake up, where this video never existed, where these things, anything about Black never existed. I want to be where that video of a Black kid and a white kid, where they just come and hug. You know what I mean? Just to us, we're all the same. We bleed the same, we eat the same, we breathe the same oxygen. What's so different about us just because one of us is Black and one of us is white? You know, same way as two Black people can give birth to a white person, what's different there? You know, so we're gonna say no because you know what, he's white, but we're gonna hate his family because there's 2 Black people. It won't make sense. You know what I mean? But yeah, like it's just more of like, I feel like violence, it ain't gonna go nowhere. You know that saying where they say, in order to kill the beast, you gotta act like the beast. What's the point of killing the beast if you're gonna act exactly like the beast? You know what I mean? You're basically losing yourself. Don't stand to their levels. Use your voice. Tupac, even though he had a rough, you know, childhood and all that stuff, till this day, his music is influential. He uses his voice. You know, it's all about using your voice. The more we fight, we do that, ain't gonna go nowhere, honestly. That's what I see, and to be honest. But yeah.
Adding to what Ignatius has been saying, I just want to read a quote by Malcolm X. And he said, we declare our right on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary. So like every time I've heard that quote, it's meant, when I hear any means necessary, people think violence straight away. But it's any means necessary. It could be your voice, it could be through music, it could be through film, it could be through any means necessary. Like, so like that's what we should look to achieve in our walks of life, which we're trying to achieve this through any means necessary, literally. But yeah, I just want to touch upon that.
And just to wrap, thank you so much, Muhammad Ali, and thank you, Iggy. That was really powerful. I love those poems. I saw Nikki say that you should publish those for sure. For sure, I agree. Kemi left a comment to say the system is strategic, so therefore to change it, we have to be strategic. And Mara commented that Black outrage is the newest marketing technique. And Tanika just said louder for them in the back because the poem was enjoyed so much. There are a lot of fire emojis and a lot of support for your poetry, which was really, really powerful. So thank you. That's it now for the speakers and panelists. I don't know if anybody has anything else that they want to add really quickly before we hand over to Nick and Alex to kind of talk about what MYM can do and how Fully Focused can make a difference.
Yeah, I just
Hi.
want to
Can everybody hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, go on, Georgia.
Yeah, hi Georgia.
Hi guys. I literally just came on here. I wasn't actually going to say anything, but you guys are so amazing that it just kind of inspired me to like actually come and talk. I just wanted to say like my personal experience as well, just being Black. You know, from young, you know, you're always told like, oh, your skin's royal and stuff, but you've got to work twice as hard as like your white peers. Like I've been told that from my parents from a very young age. And for a long time, my skin color didn't affect my life up until about secondary school, when it became quite apparent what people would think of like dark-skinned girls and stuff. You know, it was always I'd get called names like Blick and stuff, and I'd be told that I'm not. So a guy that I fancied at that time, he said, you know, you're not my type. I only do light-skinned girls and stuff like that. And there's loads of things, you know, even to this day, as right now, I'm an actor, but when I'm not acting, I'm a teacher. And I hear so many words being thrown around like Blick, turn off the lights, you can't see you. Like all these like awful things that you hear just kind of circling around. And like now for me growing up, I really began to despise my skin. You know, it's a bit tricky. I've never said this out loud actually, but I actually used to really dislike my skin color. I just really wanted to be lighter. You know, I was like, why God did you make me so dark? You know, no one likes me because I'm so dark and stuff. And it came from self-hate, and that brings me on to cancel culture, where a lot of people when they were younger, they would say things about like their own skin colors. I think Nella Rose was one of the latest ones. She said something about being dark-skinned when she was younger, and people like crucified her because of that. But it's like, I feel like people who say these things, especially coming from dark-skinned people, like that's self-hate, and that's like something that we needed to be helped with, basically. You know, you need to educate and help people to love themselves, you know. I think for a long time I was so broken. You know, I dated outside my race because I never thought I was good enough for a Black guy. So it all came from self-hate. And then, you know, as I got older and stuff, you know, my mom helped, you know. Right now I have my Black boyfriend right now, and he helps. You know, he calls me a queen all the time. You know, so many people just be saying so much like positive things. And I think even the media, you know, one of my favorite stars, Viola Davis, seeing her being in How to Get Away with Murder, she just really inspires me. Denzel, John Boyega, like all these people, you know, coming out right now, and they're just Black and proud. And I'm so happy to be a part of this whole like conversation, this topic. I went to one of the protests, the march, the peaceful protest the other day as well, and I've never been so passionate about something. I'm usually the quiet one in the back, so it's nice to be a part of something and feel passionate as well. So yeah, and also I wanted to say as well, because I feel really passionate about this, I've asked quite a few people, industry people, whether they're writers or actors, to kind of come forward with their own stories in the industry, and I've been collecting them up, and I'm going to post it hopefully on Monday on my own YouTube channel, which is Acting Up with G. So if you guys want to see more of like this conversation, which will be awesome, you know, to come over and like see how it is, especially being treated within the industry as a Black person, because, you know, we face it inside the industry, face it outside, genuine our life and stuff. So yeah, if you want to hear more voices, do come down. But thank you for letting me talk. And everybody, you're amazing. Thank you so much for just talking about your own experiences and coming forward. It's been really uplifting and beautiful to hear, you know. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Georgia.
Thank you, Georgia. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on just real quick, because I was like, I really loved everything she was saying, because I'm always talking about how beautiful black is. Like, if I have synonyms, and when I say it out loud, or when I talk about how much I love my melanin, how spectacular like my skin is, it's seen as being vain, or it's seen as being cocky. But I think it's all about loving my culture, loving where I'm from. I'm from Ghana. I'm a proud Ghanaian man. And at the start where I was raised in kind of like a white neighborhood, but I couldn't say it as out loud. Then as I got into secondary school, and as I got into sixth form, I've gone to love my skin. Just a few days ago, I watched on Netflix, I think it's called 13, and how they were portraying black people as these people who scare white women and rape them. That one white woman even jumped off a cliff just to get away from a black man, and how sickening it is to see black people portrayed like that in the media. And even now we're kind of portrayed as these villains, or these roadmen. And it's so easy to be tempted as a young black man that, oh, okay, cool. So being on the roads and doing stuff like that is the way I'm meant to go because I'm a black man. That's what I've been seeing in the media. So that's my pathway. But as I've grown and as I've developed and as I've been taught by my family how we're kings, we're queens, like there's so much that we're so much more than what the media portrays, and it's just
absolutely.
So, yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Sal. I'm really sorry to interject. We're going to have to wrap now. I know Imani wanted to talk, Jake wanted to talk. There's been amazing comments coming through, but we are so behind, and I don't want to keep everyone up all night. So I did have one question for Georgia. Is just how can people contact you and find out more?
Oh, well, you can follow me subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Acting Up with G, or you can come onto my Instagram, which is G_ALIESE, and message me on there, DM me. I'm happy to talk to anybody. Yeah.
Thank you.
Gigi is an amazing actress, amazing, and you watch her, you don't even know she's acting. Yeah, we love you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Over to you, Nikki.
Yes, thank you. So, Alex, I don't know if Jake is in the chat because he wanted to say something for a quick minute if he's in. If not, then I think we should just quickly wrap up and just talk about what Fully Focused and what we can do. You know, how can we help continue these conversations? Obviously, you know us for who we are, what we do, what we stand for. But if you have any thoughts on how we can continue the conversation, please share them.
You know, actually, I was about to leave, but that's a good question. So I'll take that quickly and then bounce quickly. What I would say as a platform is continue being honest. You know, one of the things that Michael B. Jordan said to me when I met him is keep telling stories that are unique and relevant to your people. And I think that you guys speak for the youth, so keep telling their stories, but just challenge them. You know, challenge them to stretch their minds and not just always come with the same narrative. You know, we've got a load of knife crime films and it's great, but maybe there's another version of that knife crime film that needs to be told. And so I think it's just about, you know, you guys have got a lot of people watching you and you've built it up from the ground up, always trying to make sure that young people are embedded into, you know, the building of whatever it is that you're doing. And it's just allowing them to, it's just helping them to cultivate the right things, and just knowing that there's a responsibility on a platform with your kind of numbers to really help the next generation just steer that way, basically. So yeah, much love, guys.
Much love, Imani. Thank you, bro.
Bless. Yeah, until next time.
Until next time.
Thank you, bro.
I am here, by the way.
Go, Jake, have your say.
Hi. Yeah, sorry, I joined a bit late. I was a bit just at my dad's, but I wanted to say two things. One is what I put in the comments section on one of the chats. I don't know which one. I think this we need to spread love and positivity and treat it as if it's a pandemic, because there's too much just negativity and just madness going on right now. And there's a lot of clashes of opinions on different things. And as someone who is I'm of mixed heritage, so I've got white and black in my blood. I feel like as much as it's a collective thing for everyone, I feel like people like me who are mixed have a very crucial role in the progress of, you know, equality, I guess, and just understanding that you can't say certain things to people in certain contexts and stuff like that. I've had loads of conversation. I've had conversations over the past few weeks with like mixed race people who are like against some of the things that the Black Lives Matter protests have accumulated. Obviously, then I've met some who are against like the way some of these white nationalists, if that's what you want to call them, have reacted. It's just crazy stuff, man. It's really bad. I think one thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to interview my dad about his experiences with racism growing up in like the 70s and the 80s, and also his experiences with police brutality, as he was someone that was beaten due to the sus laws, like, do you know what I mean? And I would encourage anyone, if it's a family member or even just maybe a family friend or something, if you have contact, to maybe do the same thing, because you really, like, for me, I want to do this to kind of see the parallels between now and back then. Like nowadays we've got all of these like social media, so it's kind of a blessing. Even though it's exposing badness, it's a blessing that we actually have social media. So then we're able to see how common certain things happen in this world, whatever it is. At the moment, it's like racism and stuff like that. So yeah, just to kind of sum up, I would encourage people, even white people as well, if you have any like black elders that, you know, male or female, talk to them, find out about their experiences, and, you know, maybe it can help in the steps towards proper solutions and not just continuous clashes of opinions.
I hear you, man. Thank you very much, Jake. And I think that's, so thanks so much to everybody who shared with us today and everyone who's tuned in. Yeah, like I said, it's family and it's about moving forward together. I think some key points from this was for us as for MYM to continue to listen, to challenge each other, for the young people who make the films and contribute so much. It's for them to also challenge each other and keep pushing, keep exploring. Self-love obviously is very important to all of us. Education between the various communities, African, West Indian, need to learn about each other and embrace each other. Lobbying for change is obviously hugely important. We can talk and talk, but we have to actually lobby. We need to be starting petitions. Media networks should be getting petitioned to appoint decision makers who are from the Black community, and we are people that we know that we can actually see real change from. Those, I think, are key points, and that we have to do it ground up, but we also have to make sure that we take these key points and put them into actually lobbying and actually seeing real change and holding people to account for it. So thanks so much, everybody, for being involved.
Yes.
We look forward to more, and we look forward to
Pleasure.
Amazing, you know, content that tells our stories.
100%, man.
100.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Shout out
you,
you guys, man, for speaking your truth and speaking with your chest and with your heart. Powerful.
Most definitely.
Thank you, guys. This was really amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nat.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Nick.
Well done, everyone.
We'll be back. The story continues.
Exactly.
Yes.
All power to all the people.
All power to all people.
All power to all people.
Straight up.
Come on. Strength in
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Peace, and everyone keep positive.
Bye, guys.
It's been amazing to share. Keep positive, keep thinking, keep creating, keep inspiring, and keep talking.
Jeez.
Yes.
Powerful, powerful.
Powers.